this Herb Kane work of art here at the Royal is incredible. It gives us a platform, it gives us a story, it gives us something that we can bring our guests to, our visitors, the āina, the people who live here, and take them to this piece and tell the story of Waikiki.
The unveiling of his last painting, Kamehameha's Landing, is really the pinnacle element of this entire weekend. It was the reason for the potential of honoring him as the āina of the year. As part of the mission of Historic Hawaii Foundation, we look to preserve things unique to Hawaii. This ability to honor Herb allows us to perpetuate the history and culture, the cultural places, the cultural stories that are so rich in our islands.
This is an opportunity to recognize Herb, the visionary, the artist, and to have him be recognized outside of Kealakekua, outside of the small groups.
You know, Uncle Herb, Kawainui Kane, has done so much for so many over such a long period of time.
We're honoring a man who has had significant contributions to culture, the revival of culture in many ways, the depiction of history through his art and through his historic accounts, and then also through his participation in Polynesian Voyaging Society.
Herb created a time tunnel and a time machine that was able to take Hawaiians back through time and show us what we looked like. He created a reflection in the mirror.
A lot of what we know of our past is because Uncle Herb took the time. I remember reading one story of Uncle Herb Kane in his painting of the arrival of Captain James Cook in 1778, and about him going back a couple hundred years to look at the tidal charts, to dive and look at the area and the rocks and the reef and the coral, and to look at the tides to say where was the water level and what rocks would have been exposed at the time of the arrival of Captain James Cook. And I thought, wow, all of that for one painting.
He brought to life a lot of the historic events that, you know, for many of us just would be in books. So he brought it to life and provided a visual concept to which we can at least appreciate and better understand that period of history.
I think that will allow other generations to really be able to know what it was like so many years ago.
I had no idea from where I came from. I had no idea how my ancestors got here at all. We didn't know the spaceship of our ancestors, but Herb did. He unfolded the dream of the voyage, of the building a voyaging canoe, sailing it down the sea roads of your ancestors, pulling Tahiti out of the sea, bringing pride and dignity back to the canoe, and the ancestors represented that, and giving it to your people. I mean, he saw the whole thing even before the canoe was built.
His presence on board was really unique in that he was so quiet and mellow and he seems so very Hawaiian, and it could take you back to how it must have been just because of his nature.
I truly believe that much of what exists today now for us as a culture would not exist without Hokule. Now, he didn't sail with us, but he created that icon that we all needed, that has taken us forward, you know, and would we be here, you know?
If HOKULEA had anything to do with the Renaissance, if HOKULEA had anything to do with the rebirth, if HOKULEA had anything to do with the transformation of the role of Native Hawaiians in their own homeland, and we see Herb as the father of the canoe, if that's the case, then Herb's father of Renaissance.
Rob and I have the honor to present Historic Hawaii Foundation's 2011 Kama'aina of the Year Award to Herb Kawainui Kane, represented by his wife, Dion. The award is a segment of the sail from the HOKULEA, signed by the crew and navigators who made the original 1976 voyage. To tell you the truth, if Herb was alive today, we wouldn't be able to do this. He wouldn't want to do it.
He was so influential throughout the Pacific, and yet he was always a very humble, quiet, unassuming person.
His impact over about a 30-year period really wasn't celebrated, I think, as much as it should have been. Partly because Herb was ho ha'a. He was such a humble man.
I have been so amazed at the impact he had on the Pacific and the world of, you know, just returning the culture and the pride of the Hawaiian culture and the Pacific as well.
I think we all need to acknowledge those who were really at the forefront, who really took the risks, who really saw the vision and opened the doors.
Amongst the author and the artist and the journalist and the historian, you had an extraordinarily compassionate and kind man, that in the end he knew that the seeds that he had to plant is in the minds and hearts of children, and Herb was extraordinarily successful, maybe more than anybody I know.
Knowing our past gives us a rudder with which to navigate the present. And without that past, we are simply rudderless.